Are a lot of fake news headlines out there right now saying that the Pennsylvania situation is over. It is not. It is alive and well. The headlines are wrong. I was on the phone today with Professor Alan Dershowitz, some of the litigants, the Trump campaign. This thing is going forward. Yes, the Supreme Court denied an injunction, but that does not mean the case is not on the docket. We also have momentum from the Texas situation. We'll tell you about that in a moment. All right. You know, the media really want you to think that this stuff is hard to understand. And they even haven't really even tried to help us understand it. But today, I went there. I brushed up on my Schoolhouse Rock.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm
You remember this stuff? It was fantastic. All right. The part on the constitutional amendment, and it does get a little bit tricky, but I think I broke it down, at least the Pennsylvania case, and let's talk about that. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has the oldest state constitution in the country, one of them. It's been around for a long, long time. And two fine gentlemen, Sean Parnell, who was a candidate for Congress, and Mike Kelly, who was a congressman who was recently reelected, filed suit. They said what happened on Election Day was unconstitutional, at least in Pennsylvania. Now, let's go through it. Pennsylvania's Constitution. As I mentioned, it is one of the oldest in the country, and it spells out very clearly how voting is to be conducted. All right, there are two options in the oldest, one of the oldest constitutions in the country. Number one, you can do it in person or absentee with an excuse. Pennsylvania Constitution, two options, in person or absentee with an excuse. Now, the Constitution of Pennsylvania also has some measures that if you want to change the Constitution, you got to do certain things. You got to have, let me go here, sorry about this, Tim Russert, 2 sessions consecutively held. You've got to have the proposed change in every single newspaper in the country. I'm sorry, in the state of Pennsylvania. Every county, you must have an ad indicating to voters that this is what we're thinking about. Finally, the voters have to vote on it in a referendum type situation, okay? My handwriting is so terrible now, I should have quit while I was ahead. 2 sessions, it's got to be in the newspaper, and finally on the ballot, basically a referendum for all the voters. So they didn't do any of that. They passed a law, Act 177, that said you don't need an excuse. You can be absent for any reason. You don't even have to tell us. Just go ahead and vote. Now, that's a problem. According to the litigants and according to a lot of observers, they have not gotten their fair shake in the media, to be sure. And remember, this injunction that was not granted, it does not mean their case is not over. You can't just change the way people vote in Pennsylvania. You got to go to the state constitution. That's what they're maintaining. It makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. And people in the know, people like Alan Dershowitz says, yeah, this is possibly the Trump campaign's strongest case. We also had this today. The state attorney general of Texas announced that he is suing, let's see, 4 states here. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Let's see. He is alleging that these states exploited the COVID-19 pandemic to justify ignoring federal and state election laws and unlawfully enacting last-minute changes, thus skewing the results of the 2020 election. He's suing 4 states. And by the way, a whole slew of states have just joined that lawsuit. Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi, South Carolina, South Dakota, Louisiana. And here's the great thing. When you are a state and you sue another state or states, guess what? It goes right to the Supreme Court. You don't have to work through the lower courts. It goes right to the very, very top. There's momentum here. Things are happening. The mainstream media have done all of us a disservice by not exploring these issues adequately. And back in the spring, when people started talking about mail-in voting, there were a few warning signs that there could be big-time problems down the road. Washington State, they've been doing mail-in voting for a long time. They actually know how to do it. They actually know it's pretty complex, and you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. NBC News actually did a pretty decent report on this way back before it all got politicized.
Expanding vote at home is not a simple thing. It may sound simple, it may seem simple to the voter, but it is not so simple if you're administering the election, correct?
That is absolutely correct. It's a disservice to our voters to just throw it out. Oh, yeah, we can just flip a switch and everybody can vote by mail.
From your perspective, we're already behind.
We were behind 3 months ago when we started having this conversation.
That's important. That's the elections coordinator in Washington State. Mail-in voting is complex, and too many states just jammed it through. Many of us believe they did it for political reasons, that it was easy to manipulate. And I've pointed this out before. Somebody who was very enthusiastic about shutting down this country for COVID seemed to sense immediately the political benefits for Democrats if that were to happen. Rahm Emanuel, in this moment on the Stephanopoulos weekly show, look at him, take it full. He's smiling. I'm not going to play all the sound, but he's talking about how awful it will be if we shut down the country, and he's getting a big kick out of it out of the same time, right? George Orwell would call that a face crime, okay? Democrats in the know were very excited about shutting down this country. They knew the political benefits ahead of time. All right, some might say I'm gaslighting. You ever hear the word gaslighting? Liberals say it all the time. You're gaslighting, you're gaslighting, gaslighting. For the longest time, I did not know what gaslighting meant. But they do accuse people of doing it all the time.
The President of the United States is gaslighting you.
Gaslighting. For all of the gaslighting that Trump has done.
This is a guy who was gaslighting his voters for the last 4.5 years.
He's, again, trying to gaslight everybody.
Okay, normal people don't go around saying the word gaslight. They just don't. And I looked it up a few times, and I still... Anyway, I finally saw...
Afternoon not to take up the Republican case challenge, challenging the state law for ignoring the law on mail-in ballots. For the latest on this, we're joined by Dr. John Eastman. He's a professor of law at Chapman University and senior fellow at the Claremont Institute. Always great to talk with you, sir. Let's just explore that. The Pennsylvania case that was brought before the Supreme Court by a sitting member of Congress, a couple other folks running for office. The High Court doesn't want to deal with that right now. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, Representative Kelly had asked the court for an emergency injunction blocking Pennsylvania officials from further certifying the electors in that state, based on the claim that an act that the Pennsylvania legislature passed a year ago, expanding absentee ballot voting, was in excess of their authority under the state constitution. I've never been particularly keen on that argument because I think that's a misreading of the state constitution, but nevertheless, there are some pretty significant legal scholars that thought otherwise. But this was an effort for an emergency relief. The cases are still pending on the merits in the courts below. So this may just be nothing more than a signal that says the court wants to take it up in due course rather than on the emergency relief request that had been filed.
So they could find that, just argument's sake, they could find that Pennsylvania's executive branch and judicial branch violated the legislative branch's laws in the election, but they're going to do it after Mr. Biden takes office. That's exactly how I'm reading what the Supreme Court just said. Let me pivot to what Texas has done. The Attorney General there, Ken Paxton, a frequent guest on the Chris Salcedo Show, radio and TV, has filed a lawsuit against 4 of these states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, saying that they violated their state constitutions, violated the federal constitution in doing so. Expand on what that case means and on why you're so high on it.
Yeah, I think it's a very important case. So what we've identified is a lot of state laws that were just ignored or suspended by executive officials or in collusive suits with the judiciary and the Democrat Party, in the case of Georgia and Pennsylvania, to change the election laws. And the reason that's such a significant constitutional issue is that the federal Constitution gives absolute plenary power to the state legislatures to decide how to conduct elections for choosing electors for the presidency. And when those state election laws, particularly those that are designed to prevent fraud, like signature verification of absentee ballots and those kinds of things, then you have an election that was invalidly conducted. And Texas has made those arguments and laid out how many ballots were improperly processed as a result of those violations of state law, and they are much more than the number of votes dividing the two candidates in those states now.
Okay, and that kind of leads to what you have been talking about, and I wanted you to expand a little bit for the Chris Salcedo Show audience here about the key role the legislatures can play in choosing the next president of the United States. Of course, they're going to have to see evidence, in my view, that there was clear fraud going on to give them the ability to do this, politically speaking. But talk about the legal aspect of this.
So, yeah, it seems foreign to us, but Article 2 of the Constitution gives full power to the legislature to decide how to choose electors however it wants. In fact, for the first half century of our nation's history, most of the states' legislatures just chose the electors themselves. All the way up until 1860, South Carolina was still doing that. The issue now is having chosen to let the electors be picked by popular vote in the state. Can they reclaim that power? And the Supreme Court in Bush versus Gore said when they've made the decision to choose electors by a vote of the people, that vote is fundamental as long as the election is conducted in accord with the procedures set out by the legislature. Well, in these four states, you don't have that caveat. They weren't conducted in accord with the procedures set out. And I think that means that the legislature can reclaim its power to pick the electors, or to call another election, or to affirm the set of electors if they don't think there's enough evidence to shrink the margin of victory that Joe Biden currently has.
Great point. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, you violated your own state laws. You violated your own legislature's laws. Thus, we have to have some discussions going on here. Dr. Eastman, it's always a pleasure talking with you, sir, and thank you for the clarification on that. Like a lot of folks out there in the audience are going, wow, how about that? Coming up.
Oldest state constitution in the country, one of them. It's been around for a long, long time. And two fine gentlemen, Sean Parnell, who was a candidate for Congress, and Mike Kelly, who was a congressman who was recently reelected, filed suit. They said what happened on Election Day was unconstitutional, at least in Pennsylvania. Now, let's go through it. Pennsylvania's Constitution, as I mentioned, it is one of the oldest in the country, and it spells out very clearly how voting is to be conducted. All right, there are two options in one of the oldest constitutions in the country. Number one, you can do it in person or absentee with an excuse. Pennsylvania Constitution, two options, in person or absentee with an excuse. Now, the Constitution of Pennsylvania also has some measures that if you want to change the Constitution, you got to do certain things. You got to have, let me go here, sorry about this, Tim Russert, 2 sessions consecutively held. You've got to have the proposed change in every single newspaper in the country. I'm sorry, in the state of Pennsylvania. Every county, you must have an ad indicating to voters that this is what we're thinking about. Finally, the voters have to vote on it in a referendum type situation, okay? My handwriting is so terrible now, I should have quit while I was ahead. 2 sessions, it's got to be in the newspaper, and finally on the ballot, basically a referendum for all the voters. So they didn't do any of that. They passed a law, Act 177, that said you don't need an excuse. You can be absent for any reason. You don't even have to tell us. Just go ahead and vote. Now, that's a problem. According to the litigants and according to a lot of observers, they have not gotten their fair shake in the media, to be sure. And remember, this injunction that was not granted, it does not mean their case is not over. You can't just change the way people vote in Pennsylvania. You got to go to the state constitution. That's what they're maintaining. It makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. And people in the know, people like Alan Dershowitz says, yeah, this is possibly the Trump campaign's strongest case. We also had this today. The state attorney general of Texas announced that he is suing, let's see, 4 states here: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Let's see. He is alleging that these states exploited the COVID-19 pandemic to justify ignoring federal and state election laws and unlawfully enacting last-minute changes, thus skewing the results of the 2020 election. He's suing 4 states. And by the way, a whole slew of states have just joined that lawsuit: Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi, South Carolina, South Dakota, Louisiana. And here's the great thing. When you are a state and you sue another state or states, guess what? It goes right to the Supreme Court. You don't have to work through the lower courts. It goes right to the very, very top. There's momentum here. Things are happening. The mainstream media have done all of us a disservice by not exploring these issues adequately. And back in the spring, when people started talking about mail-in voting, there were a few warning signs that there could be big-time problems down the road. Washington State, they've been doing mail-in voting for a long time. They actually know how to do it. They actually know it's pretty complex, and you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. NBC News actually did a pretty decent report on this way back before it all got politicized.
Expanding vote at home is not a simple thing. It may sound simple, it may seem simple to the voter, but it is not so simple if you're administering the election, correct?
That is absolutely correct. It's a disservice to our voters to just throw it out. Oh, yeah, we can just flip a switch and everybody can vote by mail.
From your perspective, we're already behind.
We were behind 3 months ago when we started having this conversation.
That's important. That's the elections coordinator in Washington State. Mail-in voting is complex, and too many states just jammed it through. Many of us believe they did it for political reasons, that it was easy to manipulate. And I've pointed this out before. Somebody who was very enthusiastic about shutting down this country for COVID seemed to sense immediately the political benefits for Democrats if that were to happen. Rahm Emanuel, in this moment on the Stephanopoulos weekly show, look at him, take it full. He's smiling. I'm not going to play all the sound, but he's talking about how awful it will be if we shut down the country, and he's getting a big kick out of it out of the same time, right? George Orwell would call that a face crime, okay? Democrats in the know were very excited about shutting down this country. They knew the political benefits ahead of time. All right, some might say I'm gaslighting. You ever hear the word gaslighting? Liberals say it all the time. You're gaslighting, you're gaslighting, gaslighting. For the longest time, I did not know what gaslighting meant. But they do accuse people of doing it all the time.
The President of the United States is gaslighting you.
Gaslighting. For all of the gaslighting that Trump has done.
This is a guy who was gaslighting his voters for the last 4.5 years.
He's, again, trying to gaslight everybody.
Okay, normal people don't go around saying the word gaslight. They just don't. And I looked it up a few times, and I still... Anyway, I finally saw where it all came from. There's a movie called Gaslight. Ingrid Bergman from the mid-40s. So here's the deal. There's a guy, husband and wife. The husband is named Gregory, by the way, and he's trying to drive his wife crazy. And he does that by, he makes her think she's losing her mind by, he'll set up certain things. Like he gave her a piece of jewelry and then he stole it back. Secretly, he took it back and then he's like, well, where's your jewelry? And then she can't find it. And she starts to panic and she starts to think that she's losing her mind. Here's that scene. How did you come to lose it? How did you come to think that you won Georgia with all that support on the ground? That's Gregory, and he knows what he's up to, and I think he represents a lot of the Democrat media and certain Republican establishment right there. It's actually a pretty good movie, Gaslight. You can check it out. Again, the left, they're always accusing us of doing it, but you know who does it the most? Joe Biden. big time. Yeah, he's not totally out of it. I think he knows what he's up to when he's doing it. And something else I noticed about his campaign announcement, we showed you this last night, where he makes that outright lie about Donald Trump. There's something else that he says in it that's kind of disturbing, and I think he reveals that, yeah, he just might cheat in this election.
We are in the battle for the soul of this nation. I believe history will look back
As a test pilot, you must have had some close calls. Are there any that come to mind at this point?
Well, yeah, you get, sure, when you stick your neck out, you get bit every once in a while. I got shot down in World War II. I lost the tail off a P-39 in training, and then in NF-104, I ended up getting burned in a pressure suit when I ended up about 108,000 feet and got in a flat spin and ejected out. So
now you're so casual about describing that.
One cool dude. Talk about the right stuff. Let's see. He had 4 kids, married twice. His first wife predeceased him. His present wife, well, she's still there, Victoria. The book, The Right Stuff. Wow. An amazing book. And of course, he was not one of the Mercury 7. In the story, he seemed to be a little bit bothered by that. I'm told by Tom Wolfe, the late great Tom Wolfe, who wrote The Right Stuff, who I actually met in person and became pretty friendly with, that was somewhat overstated in the movie. But Tom Wolfe, what a great guy. And once again, Chuck Yeager has no idea how many people he influenced. I'm not going to say he directly encouraged me to join the Marine Corps, but that book made a big, big difference in my life, The Right Stuff. And wow, all the folks who came before us, we are very, very grateful. All right, that's pretty much it. We thank you, by the way. Thank you for watching this show. A lot of people are, and it's getting noticed in a big way. Remember, this election is not over. The media blackout on how the Trump campaign, they're fighting this. It's totally unfair. They're going to realize it. They're going to realize it sooner or later. And they'll have nobody to blame but themselves. I'm talking about the media here for not covering the story responsibly from the beginning. Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Stand by for Cinchfield.
Especially the electors clause, which says specifically state legislatures make the rules and change the rules. That's what the Constitution says, not.
Court does. Texas and the other states are asking for a specific remedy for the court to order the states to allow their legislatures to appoint their electors. And yes, as you probably heard by now, in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the states being sued, Republicans control the state legislatures. So if this works, we can all say, God bless Texas. All right, as Texas reminded us today, this election is far from over, and Trump's legal team is working hard to ensure our constitutional rights as American voters are secure. For an update on the process, I want to welcome a member of President Trump's legal team and the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. Jordan, great to have you on the program. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Sure. Thank
you. So,
you.
Jordan, we've got the Pennsylvania case basically thrown out, but Texas, and then just a snowballing effect of states joining Texas, that's got to hold weight with the Supreme Court, correct?
Well, I can already report now the Supreme Court has put on the docket that the parties, so there's 4 states named here, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, when you look at the states that were named, they have to now respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. to this bill of complaint. And they have to respond to very specific items. So the Supreme Court is not just considering what Texas filed today. They are now going the next step, which is saying we want a response from the states named. We want a response from Pennsylvania, from Wisconsin, from Georgia. So again, I think it's very clear that, and this is the case we've been talking about to reach SCOTUS. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes at stake, enough to change the outcome of the election. If, as you pointed out, Grant, in the relief, there's kind of 2 reliefs sought. One is these legislatures, which are all controlled by Republicans, can seat new electors because the elections were violated. The electors clause is count 1, due process and equal protection in the Constitution. And because of that, they can seat new electors. If they have a problem doing that, it then goes to Congress by state delegation. And in the House, Republicans control that by 27 to 22. So it'd be Republicans choosing the next president if it had to go to the House of Representatives. This is major, though, because, Grant, the court didn't just take this and issue an order denying it or something like that, or maybe coming up with opinions later on tomorrow. They are requiring these 4 states to actively respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time to the allegations in this bill of complaint. And that's different than most court cases at the Supreme Court, because this is a case of original jurisdiction where the court has that original jurisdiction in the Constitution because it is state versus state.
All right, so can the court literally say this election is invalid and you need to find another way to appoint electors? I mean, is that the bottom line here? Is that what the court would end up saying if they rule in favor of the president?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the court could absolutely. I mean, listen, they've got if the equal protection, if due process was violated, if the electors clause in the Constitution, these are all constitutional challenges that Texas is bringing. If those were violated, it affects everyone. In this current case, would be everyone in Texas. And now we're seeing, as you pointed out, all these other state AGs start adding on. And if it impacts my vote in a different state, then my equal protection rights were violated because of the irregularities, the wrongdoing, not following, I think, especially the electors clause, which says specifically state legislatures make the rules and change the rules. That's what the Constitution says, not courts. So even though Pennsylvania, they didn't get the injunctive relief today in Congressman Kelly's case, this gives the court an opportunity to look at it on the merits, and they're going to be getting briefing on this. So now Pennsylvania is going to have to respond and say, why on earth was it okay for a court to do this when your state law and the U.S. Constitution says that you can only do this with the state legislatures? And the state law actually has even more conditions.
All right, so Jordan, 2 things here. One, I worry about the time aspect of this, so I'd like to get your response to that. And the other is just flat out, everybody knows I'm a big pro-Trump guy, all right? Everybody knows, they know where I want this to go. But it looks to me like it's an open and shut case when I look at judges deciding you can extend the mail-in ballots, when you look at election judges in counties saying, well, you can let this people cure ballots and these people can't cure ballots. This is open and shut constitutional violations. What am I missing here that this has gone this far without a judge stepping in?
You're missing a lot of the politics of this, and ultimately what came about with all those lawsuits, even the ones that weren't successful, is the gathering of all this information that then Texas and their Attorney General, Ken Paxton, was able to put together in this brief. So whether or not the lawsuits were successful in a state like Michigan or Pennsylvania or Georgia, again, or Wisconsin, the 4 states named here, you got all this information, and it's specifically going at the heart of constitutional challenges. Now, are we up against a wall with time? Of course we are. But the Supreme Court has already noted right now they're not worried about this today being this day that electors are selected. Right. They're pushing this to the 10th for the response. It's the 14th when the Electoral College votes. But as we pointed out, as Justice Ginsburg has pointed out, the real key is January 6th when Congress certifies the vote. So there is time, because this is right at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court cannot just send this back down to the appellate courts. I think for the Newsmax audience, they need to understand this is the be-all, end-all case to determine really the outcome of this election. This is the major challenge, the one we were waiting for. It has enough electoral votes at stake to change the outcome. It is outcome determinative, and the court is deciding that they want more briefing. Jordan. And that is great news, Grant, Jordan, that the other side has to respond.
Well, it's no coincidence that we led off the top of this show with this case, and of course, having you, Jordan, on the program to lay it out for us. Literally a brilliant legal mind, buddy. I appreciate you coming on the program. Good luck to the team.
Absolutely.
And keep us posted, all right? We will certainly
Will
be
do,
watching.
Grant. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Coming up on Stinchfield, folks, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, hyperventilating for years over the prospect of a Russian threat, always ignored China. Well, a new report might prove the Russia hoaxer got duped. And later, I've got a big surprise for this hopeful kid denied his wish of a Nerf gun by this woke mall Santa. We here at Stinchfield's Army are going to make the Christmas wish come true. Stick around.
More ahead here on Newsmax.
I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. That was just fake news. You are fake news.
Fake news is a real problem. That's why millions turn to Newsmax.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
Real news for real people. Honest analysis. Real reporting on the issues that matter most. No bias, no BS. Don't fall for the fake news. Get the facts. Newsmax. Real news for real people.
I was asking God through prayer, seeking a good news source. I believe He showed me the Epic Times. I came across an issue at work. The front page intrigued me, and I subscribed. Now I cut out articles and give them to friends and family. I leave old issues at the library and around my community. We read it to our kids and love the positive messages in each article. So why do I think everyone should read the Epic Times? Because they're bringing back traditional values to this great country.
My insurance company keeps raising my rate for no reason.
I saw an ad for Gabby and I thought, what the heck? There's nothing to lose. I ended up saving $1,200.
Match coverage, compare rates, and stop overpaying. Go to Gabby.com today.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
Download the Pray.com app today.
Attention, the weed killer Roundup has been linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
The manufacturer of Roundup has set aside over $10 billion for victims of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
If you are diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using the popular weed killer Roundup, call us right now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
Call now. Find out if you may qualify in under 2 minutes.
Call 1-800-413-4900. That's 1-800-413-4900.
Now more than ever, it's important to lose weight, improve your health, and strengthen your immunity. Starvation dieting, processed foods, shakes, and diet gimmicks have made us heavier and sicker. The solution for losing weight the right way is Golo. We help transform your body and change your lifestyle so you can lose weight and get healthier. Over 20,000 people of all ages and entire families switch to Golo every week because Golo works. Golo is a unique approach to weight loss that targets insulin resistance and body fat. Insulin resistance makes it easy to gain weight and harder to lose it. Golo is a patented system that uses natural plants and minerals and sound nutrition to help your body convert fat to energy faster so you lose weight while improving your health and immunity. Join over 1 million people who found Golo, a smarter way to lose weight. Let Golo help you lose weight and reach your health goals quickly. Head to Golo.com. That's GOLO.com.
Well, welcome back, everyone. California Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell spent the last 4 years screaming about Russia's threat to our democracy and Russia, not China, being our greatest geopolitical adversary. They are certainly an adversary, but Swalwell needs to wake up here. We are now learning this failed presidential candidate, probably the most sanctimonious politician ever, a gun hater to the umpth degree, might not be so blind to China's threat after all. A new report from Axios claims communist Chinese spy, one of them, infiltrated multiple California Democrats' offices, including the Russia hoaxer Swalwell. The spy named Fang Fang, or Christine Fang, spent several years working alongside Swalwell, helping him fundraise for his re-election campaign all the way back to 2014. The report also says Fang placed sub-agents working as employees or interns in Swalwell's congressional office in 2015. We're going back 5 years now, folks. The FBI told Swalwell about Fang's espionage efforts. He then cut off all ties. Well, congratulations, as well he should. So the next time you hear Swalwell deny China's threat, only to scream about Russia and somehow President Trump being involved, anywhere he can find a camera, by the way, remember, Swalwell knew firsthand for years how the Chinese Communist Party can infiltrate our democracy, and he remains silent about it. As I have long said, the man is an absolute joke. So if the Chinese manage to infiltrate a congressman's office, you better believe they are trying to infiltrate the family of a potential president. And they often do it by buying their way in. That's what so much evidence now suggests. And when it comes to the Biden cartel, this certainly looks suspicious and needs to be looked into now that there's a possibility he could become president. Joining us now to discuss all this, Republican Congressman-elect, who returns to the House after sitting out for 2 years, is Darrell Issa of California. Congressman, great to have you on.
Great to be back and to be going back to work. I served with Eric Swalwell. I traveled to Asia with him. I'm probably going to not disagree, but want to make sure we include Adam Schiff in that most sanctimonious, I think, in all fairness, because he knew that he was saying things that weren't true and even got Devin Nunes temporarily off his committee. In fact, the Russia hoax was going on. But there's no question that there's a lot of hypocrisy, and anyone who would dare say that China is not a threat misses the point as badly as Speaker Pelosi. And if I can share with you, Speaker Pelosi did a goodwill trip the last time she was Speaker of the House to China, said nothing but nice things, came back and discovered every one of their BlackBerries and iPhones had been compromised. That's the kind of treatment you get even as a Speaker of the House from the Communist Chinese.
Well, I guess talk about the sanctimonious hit parade there of Democrat politicians. We can add Nancy Pelosi to the list, of course, and there's a whole host of them, Congressman. So as you look at this, we do know the lengths that China will go, and truthfully, Russia and our other enemies as well will go to try to infiltrate American politicians. But China really here is going above and beyond when it comes to intelligence gathering, when it comes to stealing our secrets, corporate trade secrets. This is a real threat, and I'm not sure Joe Biden is aware of just how serious it is. And if he is aware, I'm not sure he's paying attention to it, because I fear from the evidence he may be on the take.
Well, certainly the Hunter Biden is very compromising, the fact that he took so much, not just from Ukraine, but from China. The thing that we've been briefed at, and this is not a highly classified secret anymore, we've been briefed time and time again that the Chinese are in the business of espionage for the long run. You can't be a Chinese student coming to one of our universities and not go home in the summer or over Chinese New Year and be interrogated. You can't go and be a student here and not have your family informed that the government considers you very important. That's not formal spies. That's tens of thousands of students that are being asked what they learned and being debriefed, what we call open source. But the fact is that many of those people go on to work in the federal government, sometimes getting security clearances. And so the web of the Chinese is much deeper than the Russians. You don't have tens or hundreds of thousands of top engineering students from Russia graduating and staying in the U.S. You do have tens and hundreds of thousands of top students from China staying in the U.S., but still having family that can be essentially used to influence these people into cooperating with their government, and they do.
And lastly, Congressman, what's so interesting about the Chinese-American relationship here is, yes, that we are certainly adversaries, if not enemies, but we are both so reliant on each other's countries for the success of our own, which makes it even more difficult.
Well, this is something that President Trump has begun to change. Fabs, chip plants, particularly the most sensitive, are finding alternate homes in other countries. Time and time again, this administration has turned down attempts by corporate America to make a quick buck by transferring technology. And in fact, much of that technology that once was being transferred to China is now being transferred away from China. That includes strategic relations with the Taiwan companies that are now building fabs in the U.S., and Intel, which is making investments in the U.S. in new fab plants for the first time ever. For the first time in modern times. So we are in the right direction. But as you said, will the Biden administration cozy up to China, cozy up to Iran, cozy up to Russia and Ukraine? And that's the greatest fear I think we all have.
Yeah. Well, you know, sadly, I have an answer for you, and I do believe the answer to that question is yes. There'll be a lot of cozying going on, much to the dismay of America, and really putting us in danger over it. Congressman Darrell Issa, it's great to see you back in the saddle again. Looking forward to you getting to Washington. There couldn't be more important times as you head back up there, and we thank you for sharing some time with us tonight.
Anytime. Thank you.
You got it. Coming up on Stinchfield, exposing media malpractice, how the fake news media may have duped Joe Biden voters, and why the rising popularity of conservative outlets just like Newsmax makes the mainstream media nervous. Stick around.
A liberty-loving American takes on Washington, Hollywood, and the whole media establishment. He's Chris Salcedo. Join his fight. Tune in to The Chris Salcedo Show every weekday afternoon on Newsmax.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
If Democrats win the 2 runoff elections in Georgia, Republicans lose control of the Senate. This means radical liberal policies like the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and defunding our police could become reality. That's why I need your help. Please visit gabattleground.com and donate so Republicans win the Georgia runoffs.
I'm David Perdue.
And I'm Kelly Loeffler.
And we approve this message.
Let's go!
Oh, you look so skinny!
I'm headed back to Milwaukee. My mother is thrilled.
I just want you to be happy. Oh, hi, Patrick!
Fate that we crossed paths. Fate or Kate?
I'll just leave you 2 boys to it.
Ben Lewis, Blake Lee, and Fran Drescher.
Life is short. You see something you want, go after it, honey.
Part of It's a Wonderful Lifetime.
What better time to manifest your wishes than on Christmas?
The Christmas Setup premieres Saturday at 8/7 Central.
I am Robert Strickler. I've been involved in communications in the media for 45 years. I've been taking Prevagen on a regular basis for at least 8 years. For me, the greatest benefit over the years has been that Prevagen seems to help me recall things and also think more clearly. And I enthusiastically recommend Prevagen. It has helped me an awful lot.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
Tommy John is for people who value themselves and their comfort. We've reimagined pajamas and loungewear with innovative fabrics that are lightweight, breathable, and insanely soft. The fit looks and feels amazing. We can guarantee your comfort whether you're working from home, relaxing with the kids, or streaming your favorite show. These are pajamas and loungewear to swear by, but the only 4-letter word we use is soft. Go to TommyJohn.com right now for $20 off site-wide.
Ageless Male is now the #1 brand in male enhancement because of our new formula for helping to fight fatigue, our performance-boosting Wonder Pill, and our best-selling formula for boosting your total testosterone. Ageless Male. Be the man you want to be.
Even when we can't all be together, holiday traditions mean being with the ones we love the most. Send your love and a taste of home with the gift of Omaha Steaks. Families depend on Omaha Steaks to deliver unforgettable holidays. The very best steaks, seafood, chops, and more. Omaha Steaks for the holidays, a delicious family tradition. Your love delivered. Order now as a gift or for yourself and get free chicken and pork too. Shop omahasteaks.com/TV.
Welcome back, everyone. The sudden rise of Newsmax and other conservative outlets has traditional mainstream media outlets on edge. For decades, they thought they could control what you think about and how you think about it. MSNBC's Casey Hunt just got caught reminiscing about the good old days when liberals had near total dominance over the media landscape.
The media, quote unquote, as people like to think of it, was in fact a relatively focused, narrow group that if they made decisions together could actually impact things.
All right, do you hear what she said? Made decisions together. She just described what America is up against. The collusion of the mainstream media to push a left-wing socialist agenda. And we are getting in the way. We, she's talking about, are getting in the way. Places like Newsmax. She is calm as she quietly spells out her frustration that their partners, okay, the big social media platforms, are having a hard time silencing us.
Now, with this fragmented landscape of these major companies, Their decision-making is obviously part of this, and we know they can't shut everything down by themselves because other websites pop up.
Shut everything down. Websites like Newsmax for information pop up, but also social media sites like Parler and Rumble too. But do you see what she is complaining about? The fact that they can't shut everything down, as she says. They can't stop conservative speech altogether. There is just too many conservative outlets, they cry. And they are growing, by the way. What she fails to see is that we are growing because of media's stranglehold that the liberals once held on the news. Yet still, they try their hardest to cover the truth and defend far left-wing extremist politicians like Georgia Senate candidate Raphael Warnock.
I was really struck last night listening to Loeffler over and over again. I think it was 12 times she described Warnock as a radical liberal.
Maybe because he is a radical liberal? You see how subtle these liberal propagandists are. It is a tactic that all too often works to brainwash viewers into thinking that somehow Raphael Warnock isn't radical. He is. Just listen.
Racism is America's pre-existing condition. America needs to repent for its worship of whiteness. Somebody's got to open up the jails and let our children go. America, nobody can serve God and the military. You can sometimes wear the colors of the state and behave like a thug.
It's unbelievable. That's just a little reminder as to why Senator Loeffler declared this over and over and over again, much to the dismay of Warnock's supporters in the media.
My opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, more lies. From radical liberal Raphael Warnock, how radical his views are. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock is a socialist. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock is their agent of change.
All right, I play it like that to pound it into everyone's head. He is a radical liberal. You see, when the mainstream media hides the truth, the nation loses. The Media Research Center found 17% of Biden voters would not have voted for him if they had been aware of the major news stories the media censored. First and foremost, of course, being the Biden cartel's ties to China and the big money deals it led to. 17%. That would have been enough to secure Donald Trump the victory alone, even with all the alleged voter fraud. So for the fake news media, they know lying works. And it wins elections, but not for long. Because as we expose them each night, they will have a hard time surviving the truth bombs that we are dropping on this program. And hey, a big congratulations to my buddy Greg Kelly. He beat Fox News yesterday. Newsmax is coming at you. Stinchfield's Army rolls, so does Kelly's. All right, coming up on Stinchfield, AOC gets an award. But the joke's on her. We'll have the details when we return. Stick around.
When important people
President Trump has taken with respect to China
need to speak.
And we passed the toughest sanctions on North Korea.
They speak.
So I can only tell you what I know and what my recommendations.
To Newsmax. We're real news for real people.
Introducing new personal plans from Nutrisystem. With a plan designed for you. Lose up to 18 pounds and 10 inches overall in your first 2 months. Guaranteed.
Lose your first 18 pounds fast with new personal plans from Nutrisystem.
It's triple matched to your goals, your body type, and your food preferences. You'll see results in your first week. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat-burning mode. Count, measure, meetings, not with Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day program right now and save 50%. That's 50% off every program until you reach your goal. Plus a week of protein-packed probiotic shakes. Free.
Lose weight and learn to keep it off.
Get your personal plan and lose up to 18 pounds fast. Money back guarantee. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too.
Your first 18 pounds? Gone.
Go online or call 877-915-FIT8 to save 50% plus get probiotic shakes free.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important.
You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month.
I called to get dental, transportation, meals, and the Give Back benefit.
With this virus situation, I called to get everything I'm entitled to. I couldn't believe I was missing out on so many benefits.
With the uncertainty of the virus, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-608-9900. That's 1-800-608-9900 now.
See Trump Win, a unique, patriotic pop-up book celebrating some of President Trump's successes. Now a collector's item with an inspirational message honoring our service members. Order now. It'll make a great Christmas gift for only $29.95. See Trump Win. Order now at liftuppsalm91.com.
For what you will do tomorrow, you need Sheets Tonight, the world's most breathable, stretchy, moisture-wicking, stay fit, ridiculously soft sheets. For the most cool, dry, and comfortable sleep, Sheets Tonight.
Welcome back, everyone. President Trump signs an executive order today that puts Americans first for coronavirus vaccines produced here in the United States. During a White House event, the president also promised the FDA was days away from approving the first vaccine and that the government would immediately begin mass distribution. So all that talk from the, quote, virus experts who insisted there was no way a vaccine could be produced by the end of 2020, well, it looks like they were all wrong and Trump was right. Promises made, promises kept. Leftist Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gets a dubious honor. She was named Employee of the Month at Goya Foods. It was all a joke, of course. Remember when AOC called for a boycott of Goya Foods after its CEO sang the praises of President Trump? Well, the company claims her boycott was not only ignored, it actually led to a spike in sales. You can go on my Instagram. I was buying Goya beans and I had never bought them before until then. It wasn't just a bump in sales either. An increase of 1,000%. That's not a bump. That's huge. So I guess AOC is good for something. Listen very carefully to what she says and then do the opposite. The spike in Goya sales, that was because of a lot of people out there boycotting AOC herself and, of course, supporting businesses that were supporting the president at a time when he wasn't getting a lot of support from those on the left. Folks, we have told you for weeks about the flaws and weaknesses of Dominion voting systems, which was used in several battleground states. Now the subject of alleged voter fraud, we've also told you for weeks how very critical the Georgia Senate runoff is in January so that the GOP can maintain a majority in the Senate. Well, some key conservatives in Georgia want the state to ditch Dominion voting systems and use old-fashioned ballots for the Senate runoff next month. It makes sense. Our next guest explains that if Georgia decides it cannot trust Dominion voting systems with the Senate runoff, then it cannot defend its certification of Biden as the winner of the presidential election. And that too could change everything. It's a long shot, of course, but all those dots could connect right up to a victory for President Trump. Here to explain, Newsmax analyst and former advisor to Presidents Clinton and Trump, Dick Morris. Dick, that was your column about what to do in Georgia and the voting systems for the Senate race, how it could ultimately benefit President Trump. Take it away, my man.
Well, first, obviously, the election in the Senate runoff in Georgia is absolutely vital. In fact, some even might argue more vital than the presidential race itself. If the Democrats get a majority in the Senate, the first thing they're going to do is repeal the filibuster rule, which means you can pass a bill with a simple majority in the Senate, just like you can in the House. And it'll become a rubber stamp body, just like Pelosi has made the House of Representatives. And then they'll use that power to pack the Supreme Court, simple majorities required, probably with 4 extra judges, so it always votes liberal, and probably to admit additional states, D.C., Puerto Rico, perhaps even Guam, giving the Democrats 4 to 6 extra Democratic senators. And they'll raise taxes at will. So this is an absolutely crucial election. Any thought of boycotting the election is ridiculous. Slit your throat on the way to boycotting the election. Commit suicide. It's probably more honorable than sitting out this election.
I've been calling, as you have, Dick, that we absolutely have to get out there and vote. I want to turn our attention now to the presidential election, because we've got the Supreme Court now doing away with one case out of Pennsylvania, but saying it will hear arguments on this other case that involves many, many states and the swing states. And the legislature is still at play here, and I know you've been really pushing that hard.
Yes. First of all, it was brilliant of Texas, I think of Ted Cruz, who inspired it, to get Texas to sue Georgia and Wisconsin and Arizona and Michigan and Pennsylvania, and I think 4 of those states, because the Supreme Court is charged by the Constitution with original jurisdiction when a state sues a state. And it's not a question of granting certiorari. They have to do it. And that's great, because we got it before the Supreme Court with this. And their argument is a very logical one. They're saying that a voter in Texas cannot see that his vote is accurately counted when a voter in Pennsylvania doesn't exist or is dead, or it doesn't meet that own state's lawful requirements. And it's a very valid equal protection argument. And look at it morally, okay? How do you look at a state that Biden supposedly carried by 12,000 votes out of 5 million cast, and when there's hundreds of thousands of fraudulent votes, voting machines that count votes 2 and 3 times, no Republican inspectors allowed, how the hell do you know how that state voted? You don't. And the only honorable thing for Georgia to do is to elect electors who will abstain, admit that they're agnostic, and let that state's electoral vote not be counted in a column, and that means Biden won't get 270, and it'll go to the democratically elected in the same election House of Representatives, as the Constitution provides, to choose the next president. That's an argument that I think has legs.
Absolutely, it does. Dick Morris, it is great to see you on the program. Thank you for coming on tonight. And I want to remind everyone, Dick Morris has a great website. I go there all the time for information before this show to prep myself, dickmorris.com. And I get his daily commentary, and you can subscribe for free. Again, Dick Morris, great to have you on the program. Thank you. Next on Stinchfield, this is the viral video we showed you last night of a woke mall Santa bringing a hopeful kid to tears after denying him a Nerf gun for Christmas. Well, him and his mom and his dad join us after the break. And I may have a big surprise for him. Stick around.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commissions.
We would definitely use Ideal Agent again. The whole process was so positive for us.
Excellent service.
Getting right to the point, hiring Ideal Agent, I wish we would have done that sooner. And we would have saved 6 months of time and mortgage payments that would have probably never happened if we would have just gone with them first.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We certainly recommend Ideal Agent now to all of our family, all of our friends. It's just a great experience.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
When fire and water threaten your home, hand the cleanup over to the team that stays with you every step of the way in your journey back. 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com, like it never even happened.
At my church, we have been praying that all backgrounds can come together as one. And when you're here, that's exactly what you see.
It was immediate that we felt like they're here to help us, and we're a community now and part of something.
The community of doctors and researchers at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital have helped more than triple the overall survival rate for childhood cancers. And St. Jude treats some of the toughest cases.
My name is Colton, and my age is 9. My tumor is kind of a special one.
It was very aggressive because it is rare, doesn't have a real high survival rate.
It's good knowing that you have people supporting you. You're helping kids feel better.
Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food.
Big step.
Because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
You feel like you're getting stronger?
Yeah, I thought I am.
When you become a partner in hope for only $19 a month, you'll help us continue the life-saving research and treatment these kids need.
My doctor said you have no cancer. Today's my last day of chemo. 3, 2, and 1. No more chemo!
St. Jude is working hard today to give more patients diagnosed with cancer hope for tomorrow.
It takes a heart for somebody to say, I'm willing to give to St. Jude so that they can help save more lives.
Yeah.
Please call or go online at supportstjude.org. Become a partner in hope today.
What if your dentist stopped bugging you about flossing? What if you could brush and floss at the same time? Now you can with the world's first flossing toothbrush, the Waterpik Sonic Fusion. It's the only device that lets you brush and floss at the same time, and it's so easy to use. Best of all, it's clinically proven to be twice as effective as regular brushing and flossing. Help keep your smile healthy between dental visits with Waterpik Sonic Fusion. Go to waterpik.com to learn more.
Sweaty in bed for all the wrong reasons? Chic Performance Sheets keep you cool, even on the hottest summer nights. Chics are the world's most breathable, moisture-wicking, ridiculously soft sheets with superior stretch.
Go to trycheeks.com to save over $100 today.
What do you want for Christmas? What? No guns. No, not even a Nerf gun. Nope. If your dad wants to get it for you, that's fine, but I can't bring it to you. But what else would you like? Lots of other toys. There's Legos, there's bicycles. It's okay. Hey, buddy.
That breaks my heart. If there's one guy I don't like, it's liberal, gun-hating Santa's helpers, okay? By now, you've probably seen that viral video of the real-life Christmas Grinch, bringing a kid to tears after denying his Christmas wish of a Nerf gun. The bad mall Santa traumatized the kid, a young boy, so excited to meet Santa, the moment destroyed by this Chicago Santa's own political beliefs. You'll be happy to know that bad Santa was fired by the local mall, and the mall sent a new and improved Santa to grant the little boy's wish.
How are you?
Good.
So there was a mistake made yesterday, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we're so sorry about it, okay? I heard about this up at the North Pole.
Yeah, me too.
And I rushed down to help.
But this is crazy. Listen for this.
This is the real Santa. Can you believe it? Thank you, Santa.
Just like in real life, sometimes Santa's helpers go rogue. Santa put them in his place. So I put the call out to Stinchfield's army, okay? I said, find me that kid. And within 10 minutes of getting off the set, I had emails from y'all with his name and his mom's contact info. So please welcome Sabella and Michael DiCarlo with young Michael, right? 2 Michaels, I believe, correct? It is great to have you all on. So, Michael, I'm so glad to see you smiling, buddy. How was it when the real Santa showed up to give you that Nerf gun? Was it good?
What was it?
Not good. No, the real Santa. How was it when the real Santa came?
Oh, good.
How did it make you feel?
Well, I'll tell you this. So, Michael Sr., I heard that you're a law enforcement officer. You're a big Second Amendment guy, an NRA instructor. When you heard this, what went through your mind that the Santa said no Nerf guns?
Well, I wasn't there, actually. My wife and my mother-in-law were actually filming it. And my wife calls me and she goes, "You're never going to believe what happened." And
Filming it because you were at work.
Filming it because I was at work. Yeah. And then she told me the story and I was like, I mean, you know, like any father, you know what I mean? I was more devastated and hurt for my son, you know what I mean? But especially, you know, the magic of Christmas and, you know, it just, I don't know. It was sad.
It totally was. And can I ask you, Mom, what went through your mind as you're watching this unfold to your poor little boy? I'm a dad. I got an 11-year-old. I just can't imagine.
I was shocked. I almost like was nervously laughing for a second. Like, is he joking? Is he not? I thought he just heard gun. That's why I was like, no, Nerf gun, thinking that would make it okay. But obviously it wasn't okay for him. So I looked at my mom in shock. Like, is this really happening? And I just wanted to console him and get him out of there.
I don't blame you. You know, if it was me, I don't know what I would have done. I might have jumped over the table. It would have been a scene. Get Santa by the hat and his boots are coming off. I don't know, but did you do everything you could to hold back from just even yelling at him?
I did. And the funny thing is, everybody that knows me called me and was like, "Was that really you? You were really that calm?" So, you know, that's not that it's, I guess being a mother has calmed me. So my main concern was calming him down, and I knew if I got upset, it would only upset him more.
Well,
what are
this
you
is
doing?
the amazing thing, I think. I love that little boy. This is the amazing thing I think about America because, Michael Sr., the outpouring of support has been tremendous, has it not? I mean, this really is what Christmas is all about. This was a great Christmas lesson.
It's so amazing. You know, we're so thankful to everybody. People have been calling from across the world and offering toys for Michael. And it's so unbelievable. And, you know, especially, too, we can teach our son about the magic of Christmas. And, you know, he was telling us he wanted other little boys and girls to have a magical Christmas. So, you know, it's so important that we teach him about sharing. And we've actually got hold of the Salvation Army. And Michael actually is going to donate the toys that he receives to other little boys and girls that don't have a Christmas like him. So that was really special when he told us that.
We've got the address up there. We'll put that up at the end, too, just so everyone can write down the address to the Salvation Army. So, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is I wanted to do something, too. I had no idea the outpouring of support would be that he'd have 150 million Nerf guns coming at him. But I sent something to the House today, and I wonder if you have it. Can we give it to little Michael? Is that possible? Michael, I got something for you. This is on behalf of all of us at Newsmax, on behalf of Stinchfield's Army, who helped me track down your mom. What do you think, buddy?
Upside down.
What do you?
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, pal. So my little boy, who's a little older than you, Michael said, you got to get him the Fortnite Nerf gun. It's got like 2 magazines. I think it holds 6 or 8 rounds in each one. Dad will show you exactly how to do it because, Dad, I believe Nerf guns are great to start with the gun safety. Are they not?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You know, and that's one of the things that he enjoys is, you know, playing Nerf with, you know, Mikey and Daddy. He calls him his partner. You know, and that's what we do together. We're bonding, you know. So, yeah, absolutely. It broke his heart when, you know, Santa told him that.
Well, I want to tell the two of you, thank you so much for coming on. Michael, I tell every law enforcement officer I see, you don't let those mother scratchers get you down out there because there's a lot of us out there who got your back and we support you. God bless you for putting a flag on your shoulder and protecting us. All right, my man, thank you so much. And thanks to the whole family for coming on. And little Michael, Merry Christmas to him, too. God bless the whole family, guys. Thank you.
God bless you. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you too. All right, I want to throw the Salvation Army banner up there one more time so you can get the address, write it down. Send any donation. It doesn't just have to be Nerf guns. Send them something in Michael's name here so we get some good Christmas cheer going. Salvation Army, 8354 West Foster Avenue, Norridge, Illinois, 60706. All right, next on Stinchfield. We've spent weeks on this program digging into these election fraud allegations, searching for that smoking gun. Well, I believe I found it. I will show you after the break.
If you've had it with the old news
and the same spent,
well then Spicer & Company's your place.
For the inside story.
And for the facts that you need to know.
When everything else around you fails, your house is your most important asset. But do you own it? Don't be so sure.
Homeowners are just not aware of how vulnerable they are.
Deborah thought she owned her house until the police showed up and told her she didn't.
I could not believe that we actually were getting evicted from our home that we did not sell.
Deborah's home was stolen by cyber criminals.
Identity protection is necessary, but it don't protect your house. They're hacking your deed. They're doing it all the time.
The FBI calls title and mortgage fraud the fastest growing white-collar cybercrime in America. And the next victim could be you.
Homeowners need to realize that they have power with Home Title Lock.
The thing with Home Title Lock is as soon as there was activity, they would notify me immediately.
Start your free 30-day trial right now, including a free home title scan, a $100 value, to find out immediately if you're already a victim. Go to HomeTitleLock.com or call right now.
Attention, consumers who've used heartburn medication such as Zantac or ranitidine. The over-the-counter heartburn medication Zantac and its generic store brands have been linked to cancer. According to the FDA, Zantac and ranitidine contain NDMA, a known cancer-causing agent. NDMA has been linked to cancers of the liver, kidney, pancreas, ovaries, esophagus, and other cancers. NDMA is one of the strongest cancer-causing agents, both in single doses and in smaller doses over time. If you or a loved one have taken a heartburn medication such as Zantac or ranitidine and have had cancer, you may be entitled to substantial compensation without going to court. Call the Negligence Network if you or a loved one have ever taken heartburn medication such as Zantac or store-brand ranitidine and were diagnosed with cancer in the past 10 years. You may be entitled to a cash award. Call now to see if you qualify for free. Call 1-800-700-2271. That's 1-800-700-2271.
Life in America isn't what it used to be. What liberal Democrats have planned for this country and your family would be devastating. At Mammoth Nation, we're committed to supporting conservative candidates. We also stand behind our police, military and veterans, the Second Amendment, and so much more. You only get one vote. Mammoth Nation's here to make sure it counts. We need your support, so join Mammoth Nation today.
It's better than a donation. Savings from just one purchase can pay for your entire membership. Become a lifetime member today. Go to MammothNation.com.
The Real. Sustainable luxury at up to 90% off retail. Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Gucci, Celine, Cartier, Tiffany, and hundreds more. Shop, consign, repeat. Get 20% off select items with the code REAL.
Attention, the weed killer Roundup has been linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
The manufacturer of Roundup has set aside over $10 billion for victims of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
If you are diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using the popular weed killer Roundup, call us right now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
Call now. Find out if you may qualify in under 2 minutes.
Call 1-800-413-4900. That's 1-800-413-4900.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
Download the Pray.com app today.
Now there's a new way Experian Boost can raise your credit scores.
Experian Boost has my back. It raised my credit score because I pay for streaming services.
Now, paying for Netflix, Hulu, and more can boost your credit scores. Download the Experian app now.
I'm someone who's paid way too much for car insurance for a really long time.
I had no idea how much we were overpaying until Gabby came back to us with quotes for the exact same coverage.
Match coverage, compare rates, and stop overpaying. Go to Gabby.com today.
All right, so on this program, as you're well aware, we've been unraveling the voter fraud allegations in this election for weeks now. I've been avidly investigating all angles, bringing you everything that I know. We're digging for answers on this program. Now, I think I have finally uncovered the evidence, a real smoking gun that proves that this election heist has been in the works for many, many years, and we've got the video. Here you go. Roll it.
Magic remote control voting machine.
The election's next Tuesday, and I'm voting against the whole ticket. How's the machine coming, Grandpa?
Herman, when I've got this machine finished, every time we cast a vote here, it will automatically be registered in every voting machine in the city. It won't be a landslide, it'll be an avalanche.
An avalanche. I was on the money. I had a buddy of mine dig that up, and I'm grateful he sent it to us. You know, that, of course, is Herman Munster, right? You know he had to have voted Democrat. He's dead, after all, right? I mean, you get it? Dead people always vote Democrat, don't they? All right, in all seriousness, with the amount of time that we spend on this show reporting on the allegations of voter fraud, boy, we just needed a little levity, and that helps. Levity always helps. We're back on the case tomorrow night, though, at 8 o'clock, and you better believe we're serious about this case, fighting for America, fighting for you, and hey, we can't do it without Stinchfield's Army. We love all of you out there. Thank you. See you here tomorrow night. I'm Grant Stinchfield.
Welcome to Spicer & Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. Well, Sean, a lot of big developments with the COVID-19 vaccine in just the last 24 hours. But first, some breaking news. The Supreme Court has denied a request to block the certification of election results in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's got to be a big blow to the campaign. A congressman had brought that case to try to rule out those votes that were cast after the official election deadline, that a court had allowed them to count those additional ones. Well, now it's been formally dismissed. But also in the legal world today, another piece of breaking news. A judge has formally dismissed the Michael Flynn case after the Trump pardon. Of course, he took a parting shot at General Flynn, saying this doesn't mean you're innocent, you just got pardoned.
You know, we've known that Judge Sullivan hasn't liked him the entire time. And to your part, he just wanted to take one final, hit at him to say, I didn't ever think that this was legal anyway.
Yeah, well, at least General Flynn is free, and we can all laugh at this now, and that makes it good. But back to the latest on COVID. Lindsay, just today, the president actually did held a press conference in advance of all of the work that Operation Warp Speed has done. Take a listen to this.
We harness the full power of government, the genius of American scientists, and the might of American industry to save millions and millions of lives all over the world.
All right. Well, if that wasn't enough, also today, the FDA released an analysis of the Pfizer vaccine, and it found, it was grateful for that, actually, though, we found it to be safe and effective to administer. This is all ahead of this big Thursday meeting to seek FDA emergency use approval.
Yeah, I mean, this is big news, and even Trump said it. If it is approved on Thursday, we could see immediate distribution from this vaccine in America. But, Trump also signed this American First executive order on COVID-19. His goal here is to make sure that Americans have priority over other countries first. It's not that we wouldn't work with other countries, that the Americans would have priority. We saw that Great Britain did start their vaccine process today. That 90-year-old woman got it. She was very happy to receive it. But Sean, this is an important move by the president to focus on Americans first.
Yeah, and again, I know neither of us want to sound selfish or that we don't care about other people around the world, because we all do. But at the end of the day, these are American companies that got American taxpayer dollars, that had regulation through the American government help. And so I don't think it's that selfish to say, great, then start here in America. And at least the president's taking these steps. I'm not really entirely sure why it wasn't part of the plan to begin with, but at least I'm glad that he's doing this now. But last week, I don't know if you remember, we talked about this hearing that was happening in the United States Senate over early treatments for COVID, right? And the media went nuts over it. They even called Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, the guy who chaired the hearing, they called him a snake oil salesman. And he brought a doctor on. We had a great discussion about how wrong they were. Well, today, Senator Johnson had the second part of that hearing, which he had previewed last week. And you guessed it, Before it even happened, the media is quick to shut it down. This is what the New York Times wrote about Senator Johnson. It says, quote, elevating fringe theories, Ron Johnson questions virus science. Well, let's do what we did last time. Let's bring in Senator Ron Johnson, the chairman of that committee, to ask him point blank. Senator, welcome back to the show. It's almost like clockwork. The New York Times writes every time you have a hearing, and then we get to hear firsthand from you.
Well, hello, Sean. Hello, Lindsay. They didn't even wait to hear what we said in the hearing. They attacked me beforehand. The UK Daily Mail attacked me. Newsweek attacked me. You know, it's just stunning how closed-minded the approach has been to early treatment. It just makes so much sense. We have these cheap, widely available pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals that now there's growing evidence that it is effective. Why have we denied that? Why have we vilified doctors that first and foremost have the courage to treat COVID patients, that refuse to follow NIH guidelines, which basically say send patients home and do nothing at all, and hope and pray you don't get sick enough because we're not going to treat you till you hit the hospital. Yeah, oftentimes it's too late. So it makes no sense to not try and help people early. And yet doctors who are doing that have the courage, are being vilified or worse.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't see the harm. I mean, what you are doing is bringing things to light. Whether or not through consultation with their own doctor, somebody does or doesn't do something is up to them, and that's what they should do, seek medical advice. But the idea of you bringing some of this forward, I think the criticism, and to your point, last night, before you even held the hearing, they're out there going nuts on you. So let me ask you a question. The New York Times says that you are questioning virus science and that you're elevating fringe theories. How do you plead to those charges?
Not guilty. I mean, we're talking about our drugs. Hydroxychloroquine has been around for 65 years. It was approved for anti-malarial, but it's used off-label for lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. It's never been approved for those, like it's not been approved for COVID, but yet doctors have off-label prescription rights. Ivermectin has been around for decades. It's actually termed by the World Health Organization as just a miracle drug for treating worms and that type of thing. But it has this antiviral, anti-inflammatory these characteristics. And Dr. Pierre Corey has just done some groundbreaking work and just showed some pretty convincing evidence. And all we're asking, take a look at it. And again, if you're a patient and you get a COVID diagnosis, find a doctor who's willing to have an open mind and be willing to try some of these things that are completely safe. They're some of the safest drugs ever developed, and they're just being used off-label. And it looks, as evidence comes in, they're being used successfully. Why go home in fear, all by yourself, isolation, when there may be some treatments? I just do not understand the closed minds here.
I want to keep going down this for a little bit, but just answer me this question because I think this is so important. There are plenty of times when I've gone in to see my doctor and I'll ask a question saying, I've heard about this drug or I saw an ad for this drug. Is this right for me? All you're saying is consult with your medical professional about some of these alternatives, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the doctors have to follow their protocols. Right. They have to look at the safety profile. They have to see if there's a patient has an indication that it wouldn't be correct for, or right to use for that patient. So this, again, these are prescribed drugs, but there are also vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin C, elderberry. There are other things that help boost your immunity that people are thinking might be effective. There's no harm in them. They're perfectly safe. Why not give it a shot?
Right. Okay. I just want to be clear, though, because I think that they're trying to make it seem like you're out there dishing out drugs when all you're saying is there are things that you should have a discussion with your healthcare provider about. I mean, one of the things that was in the New York Times that I want to have you respond to is it says, quote, there is prominent, this is one of the people that you had today, it said there was a prominent vaccine skeptic and outspoken critic of masking and social distancing and at least 2 doctors who have promoted the use of anti-prosthetic drug that the government scientists have recommended against using to treat the coronavirus. Walk me through the New York Times attack on the witnesses. Are those fair or not?
I don't believe so. Again, the hearing was on early treatment. I stated at the outset, I said it's not about vaccines. We're going to be talking about early treatment, and that's what we talked about. Again, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Ryder, who started treating patients with ivermectin successfully, I think back in March, pretty convinced that this stuff works. Dr. Corey did. We had another doctor talking about favipiravir. Favipiravir. These drugs are hard to pronounce. That shows some promise. Japan is about ready to approve that for use of COVID. And yet again, our agencies, our news media, Democrats have turned a blind eye toward these potential life-saving treatments. And part of the problem we've got here, Sean, is these people that have vilified these courageous doctors who have tried to help their patients. They will never admit they're wrong, because if it's proven that ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine works, and they did everything they could to prevent its being used, look at how many people have lost their lives. So they will never admit they were wrong, and they'll continue to resist this, which is why I held a second hearing. Because there's nothing wrong with providing people information and let them, in consultation with their doctors, let them decide. But I'm against censorship. I'm actually for the obtaining and dissemination of information.
Okay, Senator, before you go, because there's just one thing that I want to be clear on, because the way the New York Times paints this and what you're saying now, obviously, are very different, right? I think you are basically laying out information to say, and if you think about it, this disease, this virus has evolved. We've learned a lot as it's gone along, right? And so as people are doing trial and error, they're finding out stuff. I don't have much time left at all, but I just want to ask a very simple question. Are you opposed to the use of vaccines?
No, I'm highly supportive of Operation Warp Speed. It was brilliant. We squeezed every economic inefficiency out of the development of vaccine, and it looks like we've got a highly effective, highly safe vaccine. That's something to be celebrated, but even if it's 100% effective and safe, it won't be available to every American for months. So more people will get sick, more people will die, and if that can be prevented with early treatment, why ignore it? Why turn a blind eye? Why vilify doctors who are trying to compassionately treat their patients?
I agree.
It makes no sense at all.
No, I agree. And this is where I think your point is so missed by the New York Times. You're not saying don't do X. It's until you get there, there are some potential treatments. And I think that it is amazing to me to see the establishment, if you will, the New York Times and big media team up against you just for actually asking questions that as journalists, they should be asking. So, Senator, I appreciate you coming back, sharing this. If you have a third or fourth hearing, let's do it all over again. I'm sure the New York Times will be willing to play their role as well.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Again, if you get a COVID diagnosis, find a doctor who will at least consider early treatment. It's worth giving it a shot.
All right. Well, I pray I don't, but if I do, I will do that. And thank you for bringing this to light, sir.
Have a great night.
You bet. All right. And by the way, when you're not watching Spicer and Company, which, hopefully you DVR and watch over and over again, you can watch the replay at 9 o'clock. But if you're traveling or you're doing whatever, you can read up on the latest COVID developments, all on the Newsmax app. You can hear about everything that's happening on COVID and Michael Flynn and all of this other stuff. So anyway, but if you may be wondering when there's another relief bill coming through Congress, well, we're going to get a heads up next with Senator Mike Braun. He's going to give us the update right after the break. Plus, Georgia Congressman Doug Collins is going to break down what Republicans should be putting their efforts into right now. And Hollywood is mocking small business owners. Seb Gorka is going to have a lot to say on that, I'm sure. All that and more on Spicer and Company.
Medical doctor Chauncey Crandall reveals the truth about the coronavirus in his new book, Fight Back. Dr. Crandall says you can beat the virus and avoid infection. Fight Back shows who's really at risk and why high blood pressure is a real danger. Fight Back tells you how to survive. Get Dr. Crandall's Fight Back, a #1 Amazon bestseller. It's in bookstores everywhere. Or go online or call today for the free offer. It could save your life.
The world is in turmoil. The way the world works has been turned on its head.
Experts have warned the odds of a possible recession.
Cities are experiencing a devastating.
Hello, I'm Michael Youssef. Lately, we are hearing so many conflicting voices. And I don't blame you if you are anxious and worried and troubled. But if I told you that there is only one voice that you can absolutely trust, after all, He wants nothing from you and wants to give you everything. I'm talking about the Lord Jesus Christ, who said, "Come unto me, all who are carrying heavy burdens and worry and anxiety, and I will give you rest." He's the only one who can give you true rest and peace. Will you come to him?
Are you waiting to find a trustworthy voice in the midst of the chaos of this world? Visit findingtruepeace.com to find a voice that will never let you down. Again, that's findingtruepeace.com.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
If Democrats win the 2 runoff elections in Georgia, Republicans lose control of the Senate. This means radical liberal policies like the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and defunding our police could become reality. That's why I need your help. Please visit gabattleground.com and donate so Republicans win the Georgia runoffs.
I'm David Perdue.
And I'm Kelly Loeffler.
And we approve this message.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commissions.
We would definitely use Ideal Agent again. The whole process was so positive for us.
Excellent service.
Getting right to the point, hiring Ideal Agent, I wish we would have done that sooner. And we would have saved 6 months of time and mortgage payments that would have probably never happened if we would have just gone with them first.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We certainly recommend Ideal Agent now to all of our family, all of our friends. It's just a great experience.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
Senate Republicans are trying to negotiate a much-needed COVID-19 relief package, but Democrats are playing hardball here. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin is leading that Democrat opposition against a proposal that protects companies over coronavirus-related lawsuits. And our next guest says liability insurance is necessary for a quicker recovery. Well, joining us now is member of the Senate Budget Committee, Indiana Senator Mike Braun. Senator, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Hey, good to be on.
All right, well, this doesn't really make sense to me that there's such opposition about this. Can you explain for our audience what is at stake here and why this liability insurance is so important for these small businesses?
So they keep saying for businesses, but it covers nonprofits, it covers schools, a wide array, anybody that has interaction with people in an entity, you're subject to trial lawyers wanting to have this wide open. And that sticking point, sadly, on the part of the Democrats is what's really holding things up. Now,
and what's the sticking point, Senator? What's their argument against this?
They think that, and you'd have to ask the trial lawyer organization, they're pushing it, that during this whole stretch of trying to get the economy back on its feet, businesses, I'm a testament to that. In our own business, I still keep, watch on it. We've done amazing efforts at keeping customers and employees safe. Most of the transmission is occurring not at work to begin with, but they don't want to give up the possibility to take any entity to court if it interacts with COVID and it might harm the individual in the process. No one agrees with that other than trial lawyers. That's how beholden the other side of the aisle is to them. Yeah. State and local government aid is the other sticking point. And state like Indiana, we're almost back to full employment. Unemployment went from the high teens, 20s down to 5%. My home county, 3.3%. Mostly the blue states that had mismanaged state economies, high taxes, high regulations are the places not bouncing back economically. They want that, but they don't want to budge on the liability limitation just until we get through COVID.
But see, here's the thing. Right now, I go into a restaurant, I sit down, I have dinner, I get COVID a few days later, and then I just find some trial lawyer that goes and sues the restaurant for giving it to me, regardless of whether I can prove it or not. That restaurant's going to get buried in legal fees, and you can name it, whether it's an institution, a building, a pizza place, whatever it is, right? You just start suing people, and you put them all out of business. And I think that to Lindsay's point, is it literally that they are that beholden to the trial lawyers? And if so, why doesn't Senator McConnell just put it up for a vote and say, great, show who you're actually connected to? Because you can't be for small business, you can't be for schools and institutions, and then allow them to be exposed to this kind of liability.
Those are great points, because the case is weak inherently. How would you ever nail down or prove where you got the virus from anyway? But in the world of lawsuits in our own business, which is logistics and transportation, little one for many years. But when we expanded to be in most states with locations, every state, it wasn't so much that you'd ever go to trial, but there's a sweet spot of settlement regardless of the merits. And they know that.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't want to give it up, because they can go through the process, trigger the back and forth, and every kind of case normally gets settled regardless of the merits, even when there's no foundation to it. So they don't hold, they don't have the argument that makes sense to most people, but that's what we're dealing with, sadly.
So why not just put it up? I mean, my point is call or bluff. Go, great. Who are you with? Schools, businesses, small business owners?
I think we do that too, because there's so much that we're in agreement on. Aid for businesses, re-upping the PPP, education, and an unemployment insurance benefit that gets extended, not at the $600, but the $300 level. A lot of that everyone's okay with. We will get a vote, because I think it's sadly, in my new job here, nothing gets done until you're down to a deadline. We had 2 votes, Sean, that would have done most of this, and we probably would have negotiated the liability protection out of it if they would not have said no discussion, no deal, unless state and local government help is in there. September and October, we basically took those votes. The deadline is approaching for keeping the government open and for COVID relief before we go home for Christmas.
Wow. So are you going to make, are you going to see a deal?
I think the odds are that yes, because the egg will be on the face of them for holding it up for that reason. And you're going to hear a lot about it over the next 2 days. I think that'll force us into Thursday and or Friday, getting something across the finish line.
I hope
that's what
I listen. I hope you're right, and I hope you keep up the fight, because this is not this is common sense, and it would be a gift to the trial lawyers if we don't do it. So, Senator, thank you for sharing this with us, and keep up the fight. We look forward to getting an update when you have one.
Sounds good. Be happy to be back on.
All right.
All right. Well, it kind of feels like Georgia is the center of the political universe right now, between the Trump campaign challenging the presidential election results in the state and the Senate runoffs. So where should Republicans be focusing their energy? Georgia Congressman Doug Collins is going to be here to weigh in next.
Hi, I'm Roger Teeter, and believe me, I truly understand your back pain. In my 40s, I wrecked my back. On worse days, I could hardly get out of bed. I had to crawl on my hands and knees into the shower to get hot water in my back just to be able to stand up. Nothing really worked until I was introduced to inversion. The relief I got from inversion lasted longer than anything else I tried, and by inverting on a regular basis, I've been virtually pain-free for almost 40 years. I'm proud to introduce the latest, the most effective, the most comfortable Teeter inversion table ever, the Teeter Fit Spine.
The Teeter offers natural relief from back pain, targeting the source of the ache by relaxing tense muscles and providing decompression that can help realign the spine, restore the nutrients to the discs, and reduce painful nerve pressure. Some other brands rely on gimmicks like padded beds. Your body sinks into the foam, stopping the decompressive stretch needed to achieve pain-relieving results. The Fit Spine features Flex technology, a patented bed with 8-point floating suspension that enhances decompression for a better stretch and better results.
Pain was part of my life, and not doing the things I love became part of my life. Now that the Teeter's here, Jim is back, and they cannot stop me.
The Teeter is easy to use. Simply set it, lock in, recline and relax. Over 3 million people have put their trust in Teeter to feel better, move better, and live better. I'm in my 80s and I feel great.
Go online right now to learn how you can try the Teeter Fit Spine in your home for 30 days, 0 down, interest-free. And this offer gets even better. The Teeter ships to you for free. If you're not completely satisfied with how effective Teeter can be at helping to relieve your pain, just ship it back. Now is your time to feel better, move better, and live better with the Teeter Fit Spine.
Attention, the weed killer Roundup has been linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
The manufacturer of Roundup has set aside over $10 billion for victims of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
If you are diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using the popular weed killer Roundup, call us right now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
Call now. Find out if you may qualify in under 2 minutes.
Call 1-800-413-4900. That's 1-800-413-4900.
Why is Hempvana the #1 hemp pain relief brand in America?
Because it has thousands of 5-star reviews and millions of happy customers.
Because it works on my back pain.
So trusted, I recommend it to my patients.
Buy Hempvana today in stores everywhere.
All right, we've been talking a lot about this, but these 2 Senate runoff races in Georgia are literally going to determine the balance of power in the Senate. Either Chuck Schumer's in charge or Mitch McConnell continues. But our next guest wants to remind conservatives how important it is for them to vote in the January 5th election. With us now is Georgia Congressman and a member of the House Judiciary Committee, Doug Collins. Congressman, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Hey, it's always good to be with y'all.
Yesterday, we had your colleague, Senator David Perdue, on. There have been a lot of responses from conservatives who are hesitant to go out and vote. It's a tough sell for a lot of folks. They're saying, it was rigged the first time. Why am I going to go do this again? So what are you seeing on the ground, and what's the message that needs to be, said to them to get them back out to vote?
Well, the first and foremost is if they don't go vote, then they don't have any voice in it. They don't have anything to say. They can't complain at all. And because they've got to get back out and vote. And Dave Perdue and Kelly Loeffler need their votes. But also, let's take a step back here for a second. Because one of the things that we've also been focused on for the last few weeks, and the president even spoke about this the other day, we are so spotlighted on this Secretary of State and these election boards and these county election officials to do it right, because they did not do it right in every instance this last time, and we know that. So what we're making sure is that they put more implementation into the signature verification. I still think the Secretary of State ought to order a signature verification and audit so that people can have assurances that those who sent in actually were the right ballots. But again, remember, there's a consent decree down here. That's a whole different issue. But the other issue is when we asked for the hand ballot recount, we actually found 10,000 ballots that had never been counted at all. So this is now looking at it. We're watching them. We're going to have more observers on the ground than we've ever had. They know they've got to do it right. But to the conservative voter, to the Trump voter, that's that obligation that they have to get back out. Because if they don't get back out, it doesn't matter how good that we've now been able to watch and make sure it's done right. Because if they don't show up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to ask you about, this viral video from Fulton County, the ballots in the suitcases. Obviously, people said that was debunked, but in the Federalist, Molly Hemingwell says this: no, the Georgia vote counting video was not debunked, not even close. A big tech-backed fact-checking outfit claimed to debunk explosive evidence for Republicans' claim of significant election problems in Georgia. It didn't. Congressman, does this video still have legs there? Is this something still people can argue?
It's not has legs. It's running a marathon right now. Because it's just one that they're dealing with. And look, there needs to be a serious investigation in this. And I'll take it. I've not heard this, but I would like to know that if the GBI is actually investigating this, because this is not new. The video may be new, but the knowledge of what happened at the State Farm Arena that night was not new. In fact, the night of the election, when we were all going through election results, we heard about this, quote, water main break. We said it was going to stop counting, and that was already on the election night. And then 2 days later, I talked about this at a press conference that we had with Don Jr. and others, and we knew that the media had this information, but they wasn't reporting on it. So the question becomes, is there a viable answer for it? Then let's let the Secretary of State, let's let the GBI, let's let others actually then look into this. But if there's not, then it needs to be investigated. It can't just simply say, well, we've watched the video and this is what happened. No, nobody's trusting the Secretary of State, the investigators right now. Let's bring in law enforcement. Let's make sure that there's a proper outside investigation done. And if it shows nothing, then fine. We've got to make sure these elections, for everybody's mind, is good, because perception is reality. And unfortunately, with a lot of other discussion going on, the perception with this video makes it all the worse. So we've got to make sure people understand that. It's still going on. Hopefully we'll be able to get some answers on that.
Yeah, I think to your point, why not involve law enforcement? Just get some people to go in and say, we talked to them, nothing happened. You know, if the police go and do that, or investigators. But to say that the Secretary of State just explained it away sort of debunks it, I'm not sure that settles it for a lot of folks. But, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the president calling folks and talking to them about having state legislators vote for his slate of electors. In fact, your governor apparently talked to him and warned state lawmakers that they cannot choose Trump electors. Well, the president was not very happy about that. In fact, in his rally, he urged you to run against Governor Kemp. So first, tell me what's going on in the ground in terms of the state legislature. Is there a movement at all for any of these state legislators to vote for the Trump state of electors? And second, kind of important, are you going to run for governor?
Thanks, Sean. Let's take the state legislators first. No, they were attempting to do that, and they don't have the 3/5. It takes a 3/5 majority of the legislature to do that, and they don't have that right now. I know they tried, and there was many commendable efforts to make sure that the legislature was doing what they could do, because obviously right now there's a lot of people who feel the Secretary of State and even didn't get the support from the governor or lieutenant governor. That's things we're going to have to work out. But they got a big job come January, because if they don't do it now, they definitely have the right to do it in January when the legislature kicks in. And look, there's only one political decision I'm focused on right now, and that is making sure, number one, that anything that can be done for this president is done, and then number two, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are elected to the United States Senate. That's the only political decisions that's on my plate. I appreciate this president. He's been kind, as you know. We're friends. He is passionate about this. We'll let those political decisions lay for another day, because I don't want anything to take away from David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler right now.
All right, fair enough. Got to ask you about this. The Attorney General of Texas has just sued 4 battleground states, which Georgia is one of those, Michigan, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin being the others, at the Supreme Court level over election rules. You know, the president has been tweeting about this in support of it. Where do you think this thing is going to head?
Well, it'll go to the Supreme Court, because this is a original jurisdiction case with the Supreme Court. They can actually take this course because it's a court case between states. I just heard recently, just in the last hour, I think the Supreme Court has set briefs for these states that are named as of Thursday. We'll see what they do with those briefs. To take this case would be highly unusual, as the Supreme Court has already said. But if they do, then it begins to ask this question. And this is something that's been very important across the country. And I know, friends like Matt Schlapp in Nevada and others who have been dealing with this, and up in Wisconsin and others, have brought out the fact that some of these seem to change during the cycle. They would change the way they either took in votes or they counted votes. We had that a little bit in Georgia. We had it not a little bit in Georgia. We had this consent decree that really changed how we've done previous elections, really almost within the cycle. So what they're saying is that we want to make sure that our votes count the same as everybody, that we set up rules and we follow the rules. And so we'll see how this goes. It's got a long uphill battle to get there. But the governor, the Texas lawsuit will have at least a hearing. The other states are going to have to respond to it. But it highlights something that we can't let go. And I'm going to be passionate about this into the new year as well. We've got to have a response to the left that always talks about voter suppression and opening it up and not verifying. Look, the same people who, they have to have in the Democrat National Convention had to have a picture ID to get in, don't want a picture ID to actually vote.
Well, and it's
this is the problem.
It's not lost on anyone that Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor, still hasn't conceded it 2 years later and says that it was stolen, Congressman. But I appreciate your passion on that, and I do think that this is going to be something that we want to follow up on, because you're right. There's a lot of things that we need to insist on going forward. We watched it in plain sight last time, the lack of a photo ID, this mail-in ballot. We cannot allow it to happen again. So let's check back in with you soon.
Let's do it. Y'all take care. Have a great night.
Will do. All right, restaurant and bar owners across the country are taking a big hit because of COVID restrictions. But NBC's Saturday Night Live is laughing at those cries. We're going to show you what liberal late night show thought was funny and get reaction from Sebastian Gorka next.
But I hit Newsmax first in the morning.
Oh, great.
First in the morning. Fastest rundown of the news.
Important people go to Newsmax. Watch Newsmax TV. Plus, get breaking news from Newsmax.com. We're real news for real people.
Stay tuned to get a free 5-piece utensil set and more from Gotham Steel. Tired of digging through a mess of pots and pans just to find the right one? Well, now there's Gotham Steel's Stackmaster cookware. Non-stick, space-saving cookware that neatly stacks inside itself. Finally, you can have an organized kitchen with every pan and lid right at your fingertips. Stackmaster features a triple-layer titanium coating with our non-stick super durable cast texture surface. Nothing sticks to these pans. Everything just slips and slides. It's like cooking on air. You can chop right inside them without making any scratches. Even use electric metal beaters and everything slides right out. Not even a scratch. Plus, they're oven safe. Great for pot roasts or baking all the way up to 500 degrees. Even flames won't damage these pans. The entire Stackmaster set is dishwasher safe and made without any harmful PFOAs. Some high-end cookware sells for close to $500, but you won't pay that. Not $400, $300, or even $200. Today, through this special TV offer, get the full 10-piece Stackmaster cookware set for the factory direct price of just 5 payments of $39.99. And we'll even ship it to you free. And if you call or click to order today, we're going to drop one payment. You'll get it all for just 4 payments of $39.99, and we'll even guarantee it for a full 10 years. Plus, as a free bonus, you'll get our Stackmaster fry basket and stainless steel steamer insert. But there's even more. We'll also send you our 5-piece utensil set. It includes every utensil you'll ever need in the kitchen. Together, these are a $60 value. Yours 100% free. That's a complete 17-piece set, a huge value, for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we'll even ship it to you free. Call or click now.
To order, call 1-800-381-6971 or go online to GothamStackmaster.com. So call 1-800-381-6971. That's 1-800-381-6971 or go to GothamStackmaster.com.
America's under attack, and they're all around us. I'm talking about liberal Democrats, and they're out to destroy everything that we've worked so hard for. Mammoth Nation's here to fight for you. You only get one vote, so let's join forces. We support conservative lawmakers and the causes you hold so dearly. We stand behind our police, veterans, the Second Amendment, and much more. We need your help, so join today.
Easily turn memories on your phone into the perfect holiday gift with My Photo Air Glass, the movable lightweight wall art. Delivered to your door in just 5 days and arrives in a beautiful gift box. Go to myphoto.com for 20% off your first order.
All right, Lindsay, in the last week or so, we've had several small business owners who've come on here who've talked to us about how they're afraid their restaurants or bars or small businesses are going to go out of business because of new COVID-19 restrictions. And now Saturday Night Live is making fun of them. The self-proclaimed king of Staten Island, Pete Davidson, he's that guy that got into a fight with, not a literal fight, but got into a back and forth with Congressman Dan Crenshaw and mocked him for his eye, losing it in battle. Yeah, that guy. He ripped apart small business owners for protecting Staten Island's COVID lockdown. At one point, he even called them babies. You know, the irony here isn't lost on us. SNL can actually put on a show because of loopholes in Governor Cuomo's mandates. Now, just as a reminder, remember when they wanted to have a live audience and they weren't allowed to, what did they do? They paid people to come in and then called them workers. Yeah. So that got around the loophole because, you know, that was because they wanted to have a live show. So, you know, forget about the COVID restrictions because they needed to have a live show. Well, I have a feeling that our next guest has something to say about this. Let's bring in the host of America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Seb Gorka, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
So, you know, these guys in Hollywood, the SNL, you know, cast member there is mocking small business owners and calling them babies. And as I just mentioned, SNL can operate because of a loophole. Not even a loophole. They figured out a way around it. And now, you know, they're hiring people to be in their audience and calling them employees. That's how they do it. And yet they want to make fun of people who have spent a lifetime building a business and are employing other people. It is mind-boggling to me.
You know, it's really proof, Sean, that we do have, you know, I'm an immigrant to this country. I thought this is the last country to have a class system like the one I grew up in the UK. But we have one. We have Americans that try to do the right thing, that try to earn a crust pay for their employees or just make a living for themselves, put food on the table. And then we have the Democrats and the media elite. Look at this owner, this bar owner in Staten Island, has a tiny bar, Max Bar, and he's trying to feed his kids. He's trying to give a paycheck to his employees. And what does the state do? They deploy. Cuomo deploys the sheriffs of the county to barricade that bar. It's an outrage. I remember do you remember when SNL was funny? Eddie Murphy, Belushi, Aykroyd. Today, they're just like Queen Nancy Pelosi with her $23,000 fridge and her $100 per gallon ice cream. Let them eat cake. We are the elite, and we're just going to make fun of you. But the nice thing is, Sean, America sees through these punks.
Totally.
Yeah, well, hopefully they do see through this, because there are a lot of people hurting out there. And we've talked to a lot of those small business owners, and this is real. This is not a joke. Speaking of NBC, Stephanie Ruhle recently did an interview with New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, and she says that lawmakers, GOP lawmakers to be specific, should be punished for violating COVID-19 restrictions. Take a look.
The New York Young Republicans couldn't hold an event in New York because the rules wouldn't permit it, but they held a gala here in our state. You called out Congressman Matt Gaetz, who, he attended this party. But here's the thing. Matt Gaetz doesn't care. He doesn't care that you called him a putz. He doesn't care that you don't want him in New Jersey. He loves this national news. But now those people who broke the rules could be spreading this virus and killing people across our state. You're the one who makes the rules. Do you need to put more restrictions in place and actually punish these people?
Oh, so much passion there. But you got to ask Stephanie Ruhle, Seb, why was she silent on her own network, SNL? Like Sean just mentioned, finding this loophole to hire actors instead of having a live audience so that they could bypass COVID-19 restrictions. Come on.
But not just SNL. Let's look at the Democrat politicians, one after another, whether it's Gavin Newsom, whether it's in New Jersey, whether it's the mayor of Austin saying, oh, don't go anywhere, stay home. Mayor Garcetti of Los Angeles saying, literally, cancel everything. And that poor woman, that Pineapple Hill Grill restaurant owner who has to shut down that small little tent outside her restaurant because Gruesome Newsom, who is, by the way, Nancy Pelosi's nephew, let's just be clear here, says you can't do that. And in her parking lot, a massive tent is erected for a Hollywood function. It's an outrage.
By the way, that
should be public.
That was NBC's tent, by the way, too. Not to continue the thread here. It was their show that was allowed to have that tent. We had that woman on the other night. It's so tragic to hear that.
It truly is. If there's anybody who should be punished, it is the Democrats that are willfully destroying this nation. We are all grown-ups. If you're not over the age of 75, if you don't have, asthma, if you want to go out and have a drink in a bar, go and have one. If you want to run a business, guess what? This nation was built by pioneers. It was built by brave men and women, and it's time we weren't treated like children. And these autocrats, these petty little Napoleons like Cuomo, like Newsom, we need to stand up to them like that guy, Danny Presti in Staten Island.
Well, for me, what it comes down to, Seb, is it's the constant hypocrisy. And I know you've called it out, but it's like, I'm all for it. There's a way to do this safe. There's a way to protect people, but there's a way and a balance to do this where people can keep their jobs. And I think that's all that people are looking at. But beyond that, it's if you're going to call people out, like Stephanie Ruhle going after the Republicans, that's great. She's silent on the Democrats. She's silent on her own network, and it makes people hard to believe that. Seb, thank you for coming. Once again, I thank you for sending my mom the book. I appreciate it, and look forward to having you back soon.
It's called The War for America's Soul, and you can get one too.
On Amazon, right?
On Amazon or sebgorka.com, you can even get a signed copy.
Oh, wow. Christmas is coming, folks. All right, Seb, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. All right, guys, apparently, according to some on the left, you can only peacefully protest when they say it's okay. Our company is going to weigh in on this when you get back, and you are not going to want to miss this beauty.
Hi, I'm Pat, and I'm 75 years old. We live in the mountains, so I like to walk. I'm really busy in my life. I'm always doing something. I'm not a person that's going to sit too long. In the morning, I wake up, and the first thing I do is go to my art studio. a couple came up and handed me a brochure on Prevagen. I've been taking Prevagen for about 4 years. I feel a little bit brighter, and my mind just feels sharper. I would recommend it to anyone. It absolutely works.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
This is the all-new Nutrisystem with a personal weight loss plan that adapts to your unique metabolism.
It's a simple plan that works for my body.
The big news is designed for you. The bigger news is designed to keep you moving towards your goal.
I lost 14 pounds on the new personal plan. It worked with my metabolism. I could feel the energy.
Get started with 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes. You'll get delicious food delivered free and our money-back guarantee.
We lost the weight.
And we're learning how to keep it off.
When you've got a plan, you're unstoppable. The all-new Nutrisystem. Order now to set your plan in motion.
Go online or call 877-930-FIT6 to save 50% on a month of meals and shakes.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
Download the Pray.com app today.
There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness to bear witness of the light. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
Do you suffer from leg aches and pains, cramps, or swollen feet and ankles? Let Revitive Medic Circulation Booster help you get back on your feet and doing what you love. Call or go online to see why over 2 million people trust Revitive Medic. Developed by physical therapists and vascular surgeons, Revitive works by sending gentle waves of electricity to the nerves in your feet that stimulate your calf muscles to pump fresh, oxygen-rich blood throughout your legs and feet. Revitive is FDA cleared for people with arthritis or medical conditions causing poor leg circulation.
I have tried everything to get rid of my pain, and nothing has worked like Revitive.
Imagine taking long walks again or having the second dance.
My granddaughter asked me to dance with her. I danced 2 long dances with her, and I would never have been able to do that without Revitive.
So visit revitivemedic.com and use promo code MEDIC20 to save $20. Or call 1-800-450-4186.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commissions.
We would definitely use Ideal Agent again. The whole process was so positive for us.
Excellent service.
Getting right to the point, hiring Ideal Agent, I wish we would have done that sooner, and we would have saved 6 months of time and mortgage payments that would have probably never happened if we would have just gone with them first.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We certainly recommend Ideal Agent now to all of our family, all of our friends. It's just a great experience.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
Do you remember back a little ways when Chris Cuomo of CNN said something about protesting and what you're supposed to do and what's legal and what's not? In case you forgot, take a listen.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Well, the peaceful part is in the Constitution. So I think isn't he a lawyer? I think
he
so.
is.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
I mean, I know more than apparently. I think having Alan Dershowitz on and watching.
Yeah, you've had a lot of lawyer lessons so far.
All right. Well, here's the interesting. Last night, a group of people gathered outside of the Michigan Secretary of State's house to protest the results of the 2020 election. Now, I just want to make this very clear before. I'm not a fan of going to people's houses and threatening them. There is a better way. There is a right way, and frankly, we're better than that. And you may disagree with me, but I don't think you go to somebody's house. We've seen this too many times in the Trump administration. I think that's wrong. we do this in the right way. We make our voices heard. We vote. We stay active. But you don't go to somebody's house. You don't surround them. You don't threaten them. That's Maxine Waters. That's what they do. That's not what we do. There's a better way. But in any case, it was interesting this morning. CNN rushed to the defense of the person being protested and had a guest, the Michigan Attorney General, to tee off on how protests should be carried out. They didn't always think this, though. Remember when the same thing happened to, say, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, that St. Louis couple back in June during the Black Lives Matter protest? We've had them on the show several times to talk about that. If you remember, they were eviscerated in the press for exercising their Second Amendment and defending their own property and lives. Well, Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel, went on CNN this morning, as I mentioned, to discuss the protests outside the Secretary of State's house. Take a listen to what she said to Allison Camerata.
Had they wanted to demonstrate or protest outside of her offices and pulled the proper permits to do so, that would have been absolutely fine. But instead, they chose to disrupt the peace and tranquility of a neighborhood under the cover of darkness. And criminal acts are not shielded by the First Amendment.
Oh, someone better tell Chris Cuomo that, because that's not what he thought. Well, join us to discuss this latest example of hypocrisy is the executive producer of the Howie Carr Show and the upcoming host of her own show, The Grace Curley Show, Grace Curley. And just down the dial, the host of WMAL's Morning on the Mall, Mary Walter. Two prominent radio hosts. Thanks, guys, for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Grace, you've got the new show. So let me get you to respond to this. I mean, it's like CNN is speaking out of both sides of their mouths. If you're protesting a right-wing thing, it's bad. If you're protesting a left-wing thing, well, that's good.
Right. And Sean, I totally agree with you. I don't really condone this. I don't think it's a great way to go about things. But this is why you have to have standards, because if you don't have standards, no one's going to listen to you when it turns around. And this is how the left always thinks. They think they can get away with everything and the alligator is never going to turn around and bite them. And the alligator might eat you last, but it's going to eat you. And now they're all, complaining that they don't like how this is done. Well, you didn't play nice. And now, Republicans aren't going to play nice. It's unfortunate, but this is what happens. You have to have a standard for everyone.
Mary, Grace has totally got a point there. They had no problem when people are surrounding Trump's administration folks when they were going after businesses this summer. But now that it's one of their own, this is unacceptable and it's illegal.
Oh, yeah. Well, the same thing happened in New Jersey over Thanksgiving weekend. They tried to protest outside Governor Murphy's home, and he lives on a public street. And they had it blocked off and said they were doing road work. And they had an actual truck from the town and two guys just walking back and forth. And they had barricades set up, and they had about a dozen police officers who would not let these people walk down a public street. Now, I remember Chris Christie, I believe, got in trouble in New Jersey for shutting down a bridge for political reasons. But I'm sure that Governor Murphy will be just fine with shutting down a street on a holiday weekend that supposedly was having road work done. But people see the hypocrisy. This is the problem. And I agree with Grace. This is going to come back and bite them. And you're starting to see it across the country. And you're seeing it in places like California, which is so liberal. But even they have had enough of the double standard. I do not think the ruling elite are ready for this.
Yeah, and as Sean mentioned, even the McCloskeys, point in case, they praised those protesters and said they were doing nothing wrong, and they were actually on private property at the point. So they're just speaking out of both sides of their mouth here. It's really sad to see. Got to bring this one up to you because it's really funny and fun. After AOC called for a boycott of Goya. Do you remember that? After their CEO was at the White House and said that the president was a good leader and praised him for his leadership. She said that, we got to boycott Goya. Don't make any of their food anymore. Don't buy their products. Well, now the CEO is calling her the employee of the month because after that, their sales skyrocketed, which I just love. You got to love this cancel culture when it goes the opposite way, Grace. But, a funny thing, I don't think she responded to them at all.
I love this for two reasons. One is because she deserves to be employee of the month. Their sales went up, I think, 1,000%. So she is totally deserving of this award. And the second part is, I think AOC, I give her credit. She's very good with social media and, kind of dunking on people. You'll see a lot of AOC claps back at XYZ. And so I think it's nice that someone else is dunking on her. And I'm kind of hoping she can appreciate it and have a little sense of humor about it, because she tends to use this medium in her favor. So I don't blame the guy from Goya. Good for him.
Yeah, Mary, 30 seconds here, but I almost feel like we need more people to talk bad about some of these awesome American companies so they'll just skyrocket more.
Well, listen, I'm surprised that they didn't make Barack Obama the #1 gun salesman in the country, because I believe gun sales hit record levels under pretty much every award of some kind.
Soon you're going to see asking them to endorse their products, just saying, please say something about my thing. Ladies, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Sorry for the short block. And Grace, once again, congratulations on the Grace Curley Show. But if you're ever down in D.C., make sure you turn the dial to WMAL and listen to Mary and Vince in the morning.
Thank you.
I will be.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Lindsay and I will be right back. We've got a burning viewers question to answer.